Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the final little part of our Halloween series. Today I'm dressed up as a 50s girl, which will be up next week for you guys. But this week is our dessert recipe, and I'm really excited because I wanted to do remaking my favorite Halloween candies as healthy versions of them. So ever since I was a kid, Reese's have always been my favorite. I love chocolate and peanut butter, it's so good. And then I've always loved the Snickers bars. They're just perfection. So I wanted to do both of those. Today we are going to start with the Reese's recipe. I'm gonna tell you how to make those there first. So the first thing I wanted to do for the Reese's was work on the filling. So in a small bowl, I just added a half a cup of peanut butter in there, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, which I had already melted a little bit in the microwave so it was soft, a 1/3 cup of our monk fruit. Again, I grind it up into powdered sugar. I will always do that for dessert. It's rare if I don't. It just makes the texture so much more smooth. And then I also put in there a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I started out with a 1/4 cup of almond flour there. In Reese's, they have those little bits of like chunks, I guess, and it's not completely smooth. So I wanted to put that in there, and then it also kind of helps with like the stabilization of the Reese's. So I started out with a 1/4 cup, and then I ended up adding 2 more tablespoons to that. I had my sister taste test, and she loved it the first try. We can go ahead and set that into our refrigerator to chill. It's pretty runny now, but with the coconut oil in there, and when you put it in the fridge, it's gonna get really hard and firm to where we can roll it into the balls for the Reese's Cups later on. While our peanut butter filling is chilling in the fridge, we're gonna go ahead and work on our chocolate sauce. Oh my gosh, you guys, for this recipe, I wanted to go ahead, since I was making both these candies on the same day, I was going to melt enough chocolate and stuff for all of them. So I was like, I wasn't sure the measurements, but it ended up, it wasn't enough for both desserts. And I added so many things in there that weren't on the clips that I really have no idea what the measurements are. I had to guess with the correct measurements for the written recipe that I have. So I'm sorry about that. But let me go ahead and tell you what I did then. I'm gonna go ahead and say that for each dessert, you're gonna need 4 ounces of chocolate, unsweetened, a 1/3 cup of the maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of coconut oil, and then a teaspoon of vanilla. So just put that on the stove on low heat, mix around till it's all melted. Yeah, and then it's good to go. So my favorite Reese's are like I really like the little ones, you know, that come in those little teeny mini cupcake liners. I like those so much. We used to get them for Christmas in our stockings all the time. I do like the thin ones too, but I don't know, there's something about those, you just pop them in your mouth. Like, I have definitely devoured a lot of those in my days back when I used to eat really junky. I decided to do those, they're like my favorite anyway, so I went ahead and got those ready. I had little cupcake muffin tins. I went ahead and put them in there just to help them stay stable. But you don't need to, you can just put them on a little cookie sheet. So then I just spooned probably a 1/3 of the way up there with the melted chocolate sauce. And then I used a teaspoon, and as you can see, I made it pretty heaped, and I just rolled it into a ball on my palms and then placed it and kind of pressed it down there. And then at the end there, I just spooned more chocolate on top to kind of cover it. So as this filling sits out on the counter, it gets more melty and soft pretty quickly because of the coconut oil. So if that starts to happen, when you roll it and stick it in, it'll melt and it kind of mixes with the chocolate, so you'll see it on top. I actually kind of liked the way that looked. I had a few of those, and later on like the presentation platter I made, I actually picked some of those out. But if you want it to be more like the original ones and not really show that on there, just go ahead and if it starts to get a little loose, pop it back in the fridge to harden, or it will kind of run together. If you kind of like the way that looks like me, I thought it kind of made it interesting, then just don't worry about it. Okay, so then once that's done, I just like to pop them in the freezer till they're nice and firm, and then I'll store in the refrigerator. And that's how we make those delicious little Reese's candies. Now we're going to move on to our Snickers bars. And for the first thing I like to do for the Snickers is go ahead and get my dates pitted. You'll want to do 12 dates, pit them, stick them in there, and then we're gonna boil some water and then pour that on top to soak. And then I just put a little dish on top to kind of trap the heat so that it wouldn't take as long. I actually ended up doing 13 dates because I lost count, so I counted the pits. I left a pit in there. I found the pit in there when I was blending it, and I was like, I'm gonna see when I watch back the clip the date that I forgot to take the pit out of, and I saw it's because I took the little cap off and I just see me drop it in. So sad. But anyway, we're gonna set that aside to soak, and we're gonna work on our crust.
Hello, voiceover Colette here, because I'm an idiot and forgot to tell about how to make the date caramel later on. So I just added them into this little ninja bullet here with a little bit of the water that I had left. And then I put in a little bit of salt and vanilla just to add a little flavor, and blended that up till it was nice and smooth and a little sticky paste formed there. Now, back to our scheduled program.
So for the peanuts on the Snickers, I was at the store and I could not find already shelled bag of peanuts that weren't like roasted in crappy oil that is very inflammatory, not good for your body. But they did have shelled peanuts, which were roasted obviously without oil. So I had so much fun spending an hour of my time shelling peanuts. I probably ended up using a 1/3 cup, I'm gonna say. I'm not sure, I didn't measure them out, but you just want them to cover the top of the Snickers there. So yeah, fun experience with shelling peanuts. For the Snickers crust, I want to go ahead and mix our dry ingredients in the bowl first. So I used a 1/2 cup of coconut flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar, a pinch of salt, and then I stirred all of that together, mixing really well, just with a spoon. And then I created a little well in there, and then I went ahead and put in our wet ingredients. So I have a 1/4 cup of already melted coconut oil, cracked 1 egg, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and then mixed that all together there. So I've never made this Snickers recipe. I made it up on the fly that day, and so I was kind of crossing my fingers that it would work. But I noticed the batter was a little dry, so I wanted to add a little bit of coconut milk, and I ended up mixing in a 1/4 cup there. But I already had my little baking tin there with this sheet of parchment paper already on there, and I just pressed that down with my fingers. I even used a little 1/2 cup measuring cup to press down the sides a bit too on there. And then I just poked a few holes with a fork there, just because I wanted to be, it's pretty dense, so I wanted there to be air so nothing explodes or anything. So I was like, I don't know if it'll do that, but better safe than sorry. And then I stuck it in the oven, and that baked for 15 minutes, and that was the perfect amount of time. And I took it out, and as you can see there, the edges I wanted to be nice and golden brown. So when you see that golden color, you know that it's ready and you can take it out of the oven. I let it cool for a bit, and then as you can see, I took the crust out and put it on that cutting board. Here's where I made the mistake. I started cutting it into the strips I wanted, and when I was done, I was like, oh shoot, why did I do that? It would have been so much easier to spread the paste and do the peanuts if it was all connected. So learn from my mistake, do not do that. I would suggest once you take it out of the pan there, stick it on your cookie sheet, spread the caramel on there, sprinkle your peanuts on top, then you can cut it, put it on the pan, and then stick it in the freezer to get nice and chilled for when we put our chocolate sauce on. That's just gonna be so much easier than, as you can see, I was just hand spreading on the caramel, and it's easier to get it more even. It's gonna save you a lot of turmoil, so do it that way. It'll be a lot easier. You can thank me later. I obviously did the same thing as I did with the Reese's for the chocolate sauce, so I'm not gonna put in a clip for that. One thing I will say is I wanted the chocolate to be kind of a little thinner to pour over, so I did add a few tablespoons of water. One thing about water is if you add water to thin it out and it looks like it's kind of seizing and separating and it's a gloopy mess, that's just it reacting with the coconut oil, so just add a little bit more water till you get it nice and silky smooth. That's another thing too, if your chocolate looks good and all of a sudden it's starting to seize up on you, it's because a tiny drop of water somehow got in your pan, and so it's reacting with the coconut oil and just separating it. So the solution is actually to add more water. There you go. I wanted to kind of pour the chocolate sauce over the Snickers because I wanted it to kind of drip down the sides. I would have probably had to make it thinner in that clip. As you can see, it's pretty thick still, so it didn't drip too much. So if you want it to kind of go down the sides more, like I said, add more water and that'll be perfect. But I just put the Snickers on a little wire rack there on top of the little cookie sheet pan and just poured the chocolate sauce. That way whatever fell down, I'm not like wasting chocolate. But yeah, I just poured that on top. Then you're just gonna, again, pop them back in the freezer till they're firm and then store in the refrigerator. Okay, so now that we have our Reese's and our Snickers ready, I wanted to make a cute little platter for the picture. Whenever I watch like videos where people have like the cute desserts, when they take pictures of them, they always have like some of the ingredients in there and they have it set up so cute. I've always wanted to do that, I just never have. But I knew I wanted to use that little skinny platter, but I didn't want to just have line up my Snickers and then on the other side line up my Reese's. So I kind of wanted to make like a little collage, I guess, of it all. So I just got some whole peanuts still in their shell. I shelled some peanuts and then I just cut a few of the Snickers into pieces and then I just kind of played with it. I even did have chocolate there, which I actually didn't use. But yeah, I just kind of placed Snickers in different places, stacked some of the Reese's, sprinkled peanuts around, just kind of put them at different heights, different levels. I wanted that peanut color to be in there as well as the chocolate. So I just kind of played around with it till I ended up liking how it turned out. Okay, so then there's the little clip of the finished little platter I made. I really liked how it turned out. I thought it looked cute. I was proud of it. So yeah, those are my 2 Halloween favorite candies. I hope that you try them out if you are trying to maybe eat a little healthier but you still love that Halloween candy. If you do make these, let me know how they turned out, if you liked them. I'd be interested to know. If you like this little vintage look I have, I will be posting this up next on my channel, so go ahead and subscribe and then turn on the notifications, I guess, so you can be notified when that video comes out. If you liked this video, if you like Halloween candy, go ahead and give it a thumbs up for me. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye.